It's fair to say that Donald Trump's relationship with the European Union is, at best, right now strained. But one European leader who is close ideologically to the US president and wants to keep a strong relationship with him is Italy's populist Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. She was the only European leader to attend Trump's inauguration and is set to meet him again at the White House later today. But what will be on the agenda, and how important is Meloni's role in maintaining meaningful dialogue between the European Union and the United States? Here to discuss this with me is European politics and international relations expert, Professor Irene Caratelli. Wonderful to have you with us. How important is this meeting for Meloni?
Thank you. Well, it's very important for her. It's like it's her real test, because up until now it was easy. She was invited in January to the inauguration, and she was the only leader, as you said, but there was nothing that was really on the table. She presented herself as a potential bridge between the European Union and the United States. But it's very interesting that, both leaders, Trump and Meloni, they are nationalists. So their countries have to come first. America has to come first, but also Italy has to come first. So it's very difficult to understand how national leaders can imagine to create coalitions if their national interests have to prevail over the interest of their partners. So it's not the liberal understanding of it's a positive sum game. It's a zero-sum game. If you win, I lose, and vice versa. So we skipped that phase of let's see, because there was a sort of ideological base and mantra that seemed to alienate the two leaders. But now it's very difficult because Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni in Washington, on the one hand, has to try to find a way to ask President Trump to stop negotiating with the European Union, because on Monday, when the European Union Trade Commissioner was there, nothing happened because basically Trump was not present at the negotiations. And she is coming again with the same proposal, 0 for 0.
It sounds like there's a lot on the line for Meloni here. Is she representing, though, just Italy? Because she's also presented herself as somewhat of a Trump whisperer, hasn't she, for the European Union? Is she coming with that bigger mission as well?
Yes, she is. In fact, actually, Italy was the only country in the European Union that was interested and started discussing the possibility of having the 5G from Elon Musk and Starlink. And all the other members are very skeptical because they don't want multi-millionaire tech oligarch coming inside European Union affairs. So she would like to sort of whisper the possibility of, discussing, okay, we will increase defense spending. We might be able to talk about 5G and Elon Musk's technology instead of Chinese technology, Huawei, etc. We could start thinking about other things like relaxing environmental standards. But the European Commission has been very clear. Environmental standards are not going to be on the table. All those things are absolutely out of the table. And the European Union, if negotiations will not proceed, already has agreed for some retaliatory measures, but has also on the table the bazooka, that is the anti-coercion measures that were actually devised at the beginning against China. And it could even be conceivable that for the first time they will be applied instead against the United States.
Is she playing a role in Europe, though, as a voice of supporting Trump still? Is she saying to other European leaders, just hang on, there is a plan, trust this man, keep your trust in the United States? Or is even she having some doubts?
I think that she is struggling because she started, I think, having some doubts because she's a very smart politician, but she's the leader of a coalition. Within her coalition, besides her party that is called Fratelli d'Italia, so Brothers of Italy, she has also Forza Italia, that was the old Berlusconi's party, that is more moderate and wants to bring discussions within the European Union kind of framework. But then she has the Lega of Salvini that is more extremist. And at the rally of Lega a month ago, the secretary of the party invited Vance that appeared on Zoom. So the Lega is much more in line with the MAGA mantra and the sort of that kind of narrative. And so the Lega is pushing for a bilateral negotiation of Italy. And Italy has no mandate on trade because the mandate on trade is for the European Union to discuss. So within her coalition, there is a division.
And in the country more widely, in Italy more widely, here in the UK, since Trump was elected for the second time, his opinion poll ratings have dropped. They're already pretty low to start with. What does Italy think about Trump?
Well, nothing good, except maybe from the Lega party. From Italy, it seems that the US is turning into a regime, and he seems like a dictator that every day comes up with the whims and starts punishing, the law courts or the universities, or starts treating leaders like Zelensky publicly and humiliating leaders. So there is also a fear when leaders are negotiating publicly with President Trump, is actually the unpredictability of how they will be portrayed on the world stage. And that is something quite worrying. I think that is also something that Prime Minister Meloni has quite clear, that at the end of the day, she doesn't come with a lot of clout. So she fears that, maybe they had a friendship, maybe they had a feeling, but now, he has a war with everyone. Today, China came out saying that China won't honor the contract of buying United States Boeings, because with the tariffs, they would cost twice as much. This puts the European Union also in a sort of tough space, because Boeing has always been competing with Airbus. And, it seems that if no negotiation is going to be found with the European Union will need to find a closer tie with China. And for the Meloni coalition, there is no alternative to a transatlantic relation. They can't even conceive that the US and Pax Americana and the liberal order is over, and they can't even conceive that there can be a strategic autonomy of the European Union that can sort of try to find its position and maybe not become a strong ally of China, but still find its interest with China. So for them, it's like an impossible kind of thought, but the world has changed. The WTO has been scrapped. The world liberal order has been scrapped. The United States, that is a permanent member of the UN Security Council, is talking about taking Greenland, that is a country that belongs to NATO. It's an ally country. And you're talking about attacking the sovereignty of one of your allies. So everything is that is completely out of the order as we know it. So she is actually venturing a new world. I imagine the tension she has in trying to deliver anything and trying not to come out completely defeated.
Because when she was first elected, there was this sense that she was the firebrand politician, an outsider, a politician with views that we hadn't seen on the Italian stage for some time. And yet now there is more of a sense of her as a negotiator, somebody who can talk to European leaders. Is that a conscious shift for her to move away from the likes of Trump, to keep Italy behind her? And is there a risk that if we continue to see Trump going down this direction, it could risk her political legacy, her political support in Italy?
Well, yes. Well, she is, despite, her views that, people can like or dislike very much, she's a very smart political animal. So one thing is what she discussed and talked and, campaigned when she was trying to become a prime minister. And one thing is what she started saying when she was a prime minister. So until she was campaigning, she would say, things that, we have to leave the European Union. Now you never hear her saying anything like that. And actually, she knows, her party knows, everybody knows that the Italian interests by themselves will count zero, and the only opportunity they have to survive and to have the interests of Italy defended, if they are slightly interested in the national interests, is within the European Union framework. So she has been changing and adapting the narrative of her sort of national mantra, changing her position along the way. So she can always say, we believed in Trump, but then he just, went for his way and we tried our best. That is, the consistency in those national leaders is not always very strong. They can't change often their position without consequences from their electorate, really.
And I'll ask you finally, we've seen many European leaders go over to meet Trump, and normally it happened when Keir Starmer was there. Trump says, oh, we had a great meeting, we're great friends. And then it seems like not much comes out of it that is tangible, or at least not much yet has come out of it that is tangible. Do you think, and I can slightly preempt your answer here, do you think that she will get anything from this meeting?
No. No, I don't think so. I don't think so, honestly. I think that the best she can aim to is not being ridiculed, I hope, and, sort of promise that, there will be talks. But I don't see Trump looking at Meloni as being able to really skew. Look, for instance, one of the discussions when the European Union member states, the European Commission and the European industries were discussing retaliatory measures after the April 2 announcement by the United States, there were certain items on the agenda, and many members of the European Union wanted to insert bourbon whiskey on the list. For France and Italy, this was a no-no because Trump said, if you put retaliation measures on bourbon whiskey, we will tariff alcohol from the European Union at 200%. And some of the items that are most punished in the list of tariffs by President Trump are also Italian products. Italy is exposed for 10% of its export. There's no favorable treatment has been given to Italy. So there's sort of no sign of why Italy should have a sort of preferential treatment or any kind of expectation. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been punished.
Not great omens there for Prime Minister Meloni. Well, Professor Caratelli, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.